What if one of the fundamental differences between liberalism, progressivism, the further left you go, and conservatism, and the further right you go, is the degree to which we think we should be involved in others' lives indirectly versus directly? And what I mean is, from the liberal perspective, it seems to be that we ought to be involved in others' lives directly through indirect means, namely the government. Whereas from a more conservative perspective, we ought to be involved in the lives of others directly only personally, that the government serves to provide a general atmosphere of protection and opportunity for individual and smaller group dynamics and exchanges to take place. Whereas on the liberal side, the government is a means by which what somebody decides ought to be characteristic of everybody can be forcibly implemented. So if we think about things in that regard, then we can also perhaps think about things with respect to whether or not, even as conservatives, let alone as liberals, we've come to expect the government, whether it's our local government or our national government, and our national government even on the international stage, to be a cudgel to insist that our view of what ought to happen is in fact happening in everybody else's life, as opposed to recognizing that it's up to me to communicate with my neighbor and with people around the world regarding what I think they ought to do on a personal level, while at a public level, at a national level, at an international level, allowing as much freedom as possible for everybody to make their own decisions. One effect or one result of this, I think, would be a rethinking from a conservative perspective regarding the role of the military and the use of the military by the United States, particularly over the last 50 years. In other words, I think we ought to, when it comes to the military, adopt a more defensive framing, not under the excuse of we're going to fight our enemies, quote, over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. Because to me, that seems to be one of the worst ways of viewing the lives of other people. We will let our enemy kill some other people who we are ostensibly defending and supporting so that we can avoid dying for the cause ourselves. We're using people in that regard as means rather than recognizing them as ends, as Kant would have us do and others as well. In other words, the degree to which we think that the military ought to serve as a defender of liberty, how can we justify using the military in an effort to force liberty? If liberty and understanding of liberty is a product of philosophical and even religious thought over hundreds and even thousands of years, and we are the beneficiaries in America of that fruit, then how can we expect overnight people who have never had the opportunity to think, not because they can't think, but because those ideas have never had a chance to take root in their context, how can we expect them to understand what liberty is and what it means, particularly if the means by which we seek to introduce them to liberty and to make liberty possible for them is through force, the only thing they've ever known under whatever guise of government they've lived under in the past. So as we think about who we are, what we want to be, how we want to be represented in the national and international stage, it seems to me that many conservatives have adopted many views and approaches to representing and encouraging, shall we say, or forcing conservative ideals of liberty, life, etc., in ways that deny the very principles we're supposed to stand for. at least liberals, in using government to force people to do things that they may or may not want to do, or to force people to do things in the name of making life better for other people that they neither the first group would choose to do, or the second group would choose to live in a way that would facilitate the maintenance of those good things. While that's part of their modus operandi, I think conservatives need to step back and really rethink how it is we've operated over the last few decades and how, in fact, we are operating now when it comes to our support for the military and the military activity, or the way the military has been used over the last several decades and continues to be used today. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for your time. Catch you later. Thank you very much for your time. I've got a couple other videos listed here if you'd like to take a look at those. And as I'd like to discuss issues related to politics, religion, society, and how in the world we're supposed to understand ourselves and life in the world. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bye bye.